Jasmine. It's one of the most polarizing notes in perfumery. Done wrong, it's soapy, sharp, almost medicinal. Done right, and I mean genuinely right, it wraps around you like warm skin on a summer evening. The moment I sprayed Gucci Flora Gorgeous Jasmine, I genuinely paused mid-sentence. Something about the opening stopped me cold. And I've been reviewing fragrances for years. That doesn't happen often. Now, I know what you're thinking. Flora. Gucci. Gorgeous. It sounds like every other flanker in a long line of flankers, doesn't it? Another pretty bottle chasing the same floral dollar. But stick with me. Because by the time we get to the dry down, and I mean 3, 4 hours in, this fragrance does something I did not expect. Something that completely reframed my opinion of this entire line. Stay for that. Gucci and florals have a long, complicated, and honestly quite beautiful history together. The Flora line itself was born out of a custom print that Grace Kelly requested for a silk scarf back in 1966. Think about that. A floral motif so elegant, so perfectly composed, that it became one of the house's most enduring signatures. Decades later, that same DNA became the foundation for an entire fragrance collection. Gucci, under the creative direction of Alessandro Michele, leaned hard into romanticism, into excess, into beauty that's almost too much to bear. And that philosophy seeps directly into how Flora Gorgeous Jasmine was composed. This isn't a minimalist fragrance. It's not trying to be subtle or niche or deliberately difficult. Gucci makes luxury accessible, and they make no apologies for that. What they do brilliantly, when they're at their best, is take a classic feminine ingredient like jasmine and dress it in something unexpected. Something that feels modern without abandoning its roots. The Flora Gorgeous subline launched with gardenia, then magnolia, then jasmine. Each one interpreted through this lush, slightly intoxicating lens. Jasmine was always going to be the boldest of the 3. And they knew it. Let's talk about the bottle, because honestly, this is one area where Gucci never lets you down. The Flora Gorgeous Jasmine bottle is a pale gold, almost champagne, glass with a subtle gradient that catches the light beautifully. It's feminine without being fussy. The cap is weighty, satisfying to hold, that solid thud when it clicks back into place tells you this is a considered object. The Flora print itself is embossed subtly on the front, and there's something almost Art Nouveau about it. Flowers, butterflies, insects weaving through the design. It's intricate. It rewards close inspection. This is absolutely a bottle you put on your dressing table. You display this. It earns its place. The 50 ml size, which is what we're reviewing today, sits comfortably in the hand. Not too large, not so small it feels like a sample. The spray mechanism is precise, gives a fine, controlled mist. No waste. I appreciate that. Packaging-wise, the outer box matches the bottle perfectly. Gold tones, the Flora graphic, understated Gucci branding. It opens cleanly. If you're buying this as a gift, the unboxing experience alone earns points. This is premium presentation at the £65 price point, and it shows. Right. First spray. Here's what happens. You press the nozzle and the opening is immediately, unmistakably floral, but with this bright, almost citrusy lift that propels the jasmine forward rather than letting it sit flat. It's luminous. That's the word I keep coming back to. Luminous. The jasmine isn't dark or indolic here. It's not the heady, almost animal jasmine you'd get in something like Fracas or even Chanel No. 5. This is jasmine in the morning. Jasmine with dew on it. The projection in those first 10 to 15 minutes is genuinely impressive. You spray it and it announces itself. Not aggressively, not in a way that clears a room, but in a way that says, confidently, I am here. People around you will notice. There's a sweetness to the opening as well, a slight fruity facet. That stops it from being purely green or purely floral. It's approachable. Immediately wearable. What I will say is that the very top, in the first 2 or 3 minutes, is almost deceptively simple. Don't judge this fragrance in the first 60 seconds. Give it 5 minutes. Because then something shifts. About 15 to 20 minutes in, the heart opens up, and this is where Gucci Flora Gorgeous Jasmine starts to earn its name properly. The jasmine deepens. It becomes warmer. That initial bright freshness softens, and underneath it you start to detect something slightly creamy, slightly velvety. There's a richness here that wasn't obvious in the opening. The heart is where this fragrance lives, honestly. It settles into this gorgeous, full-bodied floral that manages to feel both classic and contemporary simultaneously. Classic because jasmine in full bloom is timeless. Contemporary because of how it's been framed. There's a lightness to the composition, a transparency even within the richness, that feels very much of this decade. I also noticed a very subtle powdery nuance creeping in here. Not talcum powder, not old-fashioned powder. More like the soft, warm powder of skin. Like the fragrance is becoming part of you rather than sitting on top of you. That's good perfumery. That's intentional blending. There are no jarring transitions here. No moment where you think, oh, that's a different fragrance. It evolves gradually, gracefully. Like watching a flower open in time-lapse. Okay. This is the part one told you to wait for. 3 hours in, maybe 3.5, and Gucci Flora Gorgeous Jasmine does something quietly extraordinary. The jasmine retreats slightly, softens, and what emerges underneath is this warm, slightly musky, almost skin-like base that is genuinely beautiful. It's intimate. It's the kind of fragrance that, at this stage, is yours. It's not performing anymore. It's just existing on your skin, warm and close and slightly addictive. There's a woody undertone in the base, soft, not harsh, that gives the whole thing structure without weight. And that slight sweetness from the opening? It's still there in the dry down, but it's been integrated so seamlessly that it now just reads as warmth. It's no longer a note you can isolate. It's just the overall feeling of the fragrance. Honestly? The dry down elevated this from a nice floral to a fragrance I genuinely want to wear. That's the test I always apply. First spray impresses you. The dry down makes you reach for it again. Let's be real about the numbers here, because this matters. On skin, I'm getting between 6 and 7 hours of wear. As an Eau de Parfum, that's exactly what you'd hope for, and it delivers. It doesn't disappear after 2 hours the way some light florals do. It genuinely lasts through a working day or an evening out without needing a respray. On clothes, and I tested this on the inside of a jacket collar, it extended considerably. I could still detect it faintly the following morning. Always spray on skin first, but a light touch on fabric if longevity is a priority for you. Sillage, meaning the trail it leaves, is moderate. This is not a room filler. This is not the fragrance you spray and people turn their heads across the office. It's more of a close-range scent. People who hug you will notice it. People who lean in for a conversation will notice it. But you won't be announcing your arrival to an entire building. Some people will see that as a weakness. I see it as refinement. Best time to wear it? Morning application for a daytime or early evening occasion. The opening is perfect for that bright morning start, and by the time you're heading into dinner, the dry down is doing its best work. Let me paint you a couple of pictures. If you're the type who collects silk scarves, keeps fresh flowers on the kitchen table, and considers Sunday brunch an event worth dressing for, this was made for you. Wear this to a gallery opening. Wear this on a first date where you want to seem effortlessly put together. Wear this to a wedding where you're a guest, not the bride, because it's beautiful enough to be noticed but not so loud it competes. If you're someone who loves floral fragrances but finds a lot of them too sharp, too soapy, or too young, this is your answer. The creaminess and warmth of the dry down give it a maturity that means this works beautifully on anyone from their mid-20s upwards. And yes, while this is marketed for her, I'd genuinely encourage any man who loves a sophisticated floral to try this. On the right skin chemistry, this is stunning regardless of gender. Now, who should not wear this? If you're someone who needs their fragrance to project hard, to fill a room, to be your calling card, look elsewhere. If you want dark, smoky, intense, this isn't your fragrance. If you're someone who finds jasmine categorically unpleasant, no amount of clever composition will convert you here. Jasmine is the star. There's no hiding it. And honestly, good. £65 for 50 millilitres. Let's do the maths. That works out to £1.30 per milliliter. In the context of designer fragrance at this concentration, that's actually very reasonable. You're not in the ultra-premium stratosphere, but you're getting a genuinely well-crafted Eau de Parfum from one of the world's most recognizable luxury houses, with packaging that punches above its price point. Are you paying for the name? Partially. Of course you are. That's always true with designer fragrance. But the liquid inside justifies a meaningful portion of that cost. This isn't cynical flanker perfumery. Someone genuinely cared about this composition. If you want something in a similar floral jasmine space at a lower price point, have a look at Floral Street Wonderland Peony, different flower, similar mood, roughly half the price. Worth knowing about. But if you want Gucci Flora Gorgeous Jasmine specifically, and after this review I think some of you will, you can pick up the 50 milliliters from p-11.com. I'll drop the direct link in the description. They're a solid UK stockist, good pricing, reliable service. My score, 7.5 out of 10. It loses half a point for Sillage that some will find underwhelming, and another point for a top note phase that's pleasant but not revelatory. Everything from the heart downward? 9 out of 10 easily. The dry down alone is worth the price of admission. Gucci Flora Gorgeous Jasmine is the rare flanker that actually justifies its existence, an accessible, beautifully composed floral that gets more interesting the longer you wear it, anchored by a dry down that's quietly, genuinely lovely. If you already own this, I want to know, was it the dry down that sealed the deal for you, or did you find something in a similar jasmine space that you think does it better for less money? Tell me in the comments, genuinely curious. And if honest fragrance reviews with no agenda are what you're after, subscribe. I post every week and I never recommend something I wouldn't buy myself.